100. 50.
Hey guys, what is up? It's Hamza Bayomi here, and today welcome back to another Hamza Bayomi video. And today we're going to be showing you the demonstration of the Delta Airlines Airbus A320-200 in Aerofly FS Global. Alright, so let's get started. So we are at the title, it says Aerofly FS and it says Flight Simulator. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to the aircraft selection. Alright, so the aircraft we selected is a Delta Airlines Airbus A320-200 wearing the Delta Airlines livery. So this is what it looks like in full detail, and you could also pause the video if you want to read the description. Alright, so let's go ahead and click on the back button, and then let's go ahead and start the aircraft. Here we go. Alright, let's wait until it loads. Alright, so the aircraft is going to be loading in any second now. Alright, let's press the start button thingy here. Alright, so here we are at John F. Kennedy International Airport. Alright, let's have a few moments before takeoff. These are the engines right here. These are CFMI CFM56-5A3 engines. This is what it looks like in full detail, and it also has the registration right here. November 369 November Whiskey. This is what it looks like in full detail, and it also has the Delta Airlines logo on the side of the fuselage. And it also has the Delta Airlines logo on the other side of the fuselage. And it also has the Delta Airlines logo on the side of the tail. And it also has the Delta Airlines logo on the outer side of the tail. Alright, we are clear for takeoff on runway 4 left, and we are ready for takeoff. Alright, let's go to cockpit view here. Alright, the flaps have been set to 1 degree. Alright, now let's go ahead and set our throttles to 50% here. We're holding it there for a while. And we are taking off. Takeoff thrust is set. Airspeed's live. Alright, so far so good. I also left on a master caution warning, looks like in full detail. Alright, 100 knots, checked. Get back to chase view here. Alright. V1, rotate. Alright. Positive rate of climb, gear coming up. Alright, gear is coming up. Just like that, we are climbing out of John F. Kennedy International Airport. Alright, we are climbing at 150 feet. The rest is going to climb. So, we will cruise the plane at 3,000 feet. Alright, the climb is doing good. Alright, I also love how the engines look like in full detail, and the plane as well as it is in full detail. The engines again are CFMI CFM56-5A3 engines. And the registration again is November 369 November Whiskey. Alright, let's get back to cockpit view here. Alright, so we are at 880 feet. Alright, make a right turn here. I also left on a master caution, looks like in full detail. Alright, we are at 1,000 feet. 2 more 1,000 feet to go until we reach 3,000 feet. Alright, set the flaps up. Alright. The climb is doing good. I also left on a master caution, looks like in full detail for sound. Alright, we're gonna reach 2,000 feet soon. Alright. I also left at a heading, looks like in full detail. And the cockpit gauges and screens as well as it is in full detail. Alright. We are at 2,000 feet. 1 more 1,000 feet to go until we reach 5,000 feet. At 2,500 feet, the radio altimeter disappears when you're climbing. Alright. After takeoff. Alright. 2,500 feet is where the radio altimeter disappears. Alright. We're gonna reach 3,000 feet soon. Alright. We are at 3,000 feet. Alright, so let's go ahead and descend back to John F. Kennedy International Airport. Alright, we are descending right now. Gear coming down. Gear coming down. Alright, gear is coming down. Just like that, we are 2,500 feet above the ground. Let's hope we can mutter and clear this landing on score 001. Let's hope we don't crash into the mountains right there, and we are cleared to land on runway 22 left. Alright, let's go ahead and go back to cockpit view here. Alright, set the flaps to 4 degrees. I also left on a master warning, looks like in full detail. I also left on the sounds as well as it is in full detail. Alright, reduce the speed here. It says 1.5 G on it. That's the red warning here. Alright. So, we're gonna hear the Airbus GPWS call out sounds once we reach 2,500 feet. So over there is Garden City and Hempstead, and there is New Hyde Park, and there is Wilston Park, there is Franklin Square, Floral Park, and there is Garden City Park.
2,500.
At 2,500 feet, the radio altimeter appears when you're descending. Over there is Borough of Bronx, and there is Great Neck Plaza, New Hyde Park, Manhattan, Jamaica, and Brooklyn. Alright, we're headed back towards John F. Kennedy International Airport. I see the runway 22 left over there on my left. Alright, the flaps are going to be set to 4 degrees. Alright, set our flaps toward 4 degrees. I don't know why we're over speeding, but we'll deal with it. Alright. We're going to head back towards John F. Kennedy International Airport. Increase the speed to full throttle. Alright. There's runway 22 left on my left. Alright. Ignore that master warning here. It says 1.5G as well as it is for the red warning. Alright. We're stalling. We're stalling. Sorry about that stall warning. And we're over speeding. I don't know why the flaps are being retracted back to 0 degrees. The flaps have been retracted back to 0 degrees. Alright, make a smooth landing out of this right here. Alright, I see the yellow markered lines. That means to land this plane here. Alright, we're going to approach for runway 22 left, and then we'll be landing this plane momentarily anytime soon. I also left at the primary flight display as well as it is in full detail. There is an E75S over there. We're going to land this plane soon here. Alright, we're going to reach 1,000 feet anytime soon. We're at 310 knots. Set the flaps to 4 degrees. Come on, flare this plane. Come on. There's 500.
400. 300.
Come on. Make this a smooth landing.
100.
Too low. Terrain.
50. 40. 30. Retard.
Flare dead. We have successfully landed on runway 22 left. Let's use the reverse thrust to stop the plane. I also love how the reverse thrust looks like in full detail. See the reverse thrusters? I also love how they look like it in full detail. Alright, now let's go ahead and stop the plane right there. Alright, the plane has stopped on runway 22 left. Now let's end the video right here. Alright, so that is going to be it for our demonstration of the Delta Airlines Airbus A320-200 and Aerofly FS Global. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, peace out, guys.